It's just so horrible.
I'm sorry, Lois. I thought if I shook him enough, he'd stop crying. I was kind of right.
What's going on, you connoisseurs of cartoon chaos? Today we're doing a list so dark it'll make you want to give your dad a hug and apologize for no reason at all. We're talking about the men who failed so spectacularly at fatherhood, they earned a permanent place in the Hall of Shame. We're counting down the top 5 worst dads in cartoon history. We'll be digging into the accurate details of their most unforgivable acts and exploring their twisted motivations. From the laughably incompetent to the generally terrifying, these guys prove that sometimes father knows best is a scary lie. Let's get into it. Kicking off our list at number 5, we have a man that proves that being a good dad is about as easy as catching a fairy. Timmy's dad, Mr. Turner from Nickelodeon's The Very Odd Parents. Now, Mr. Turner isn't a villain in a traditional sense, but his brand of obliviousness and self-absorption is a special kind of parental cruelty. He's not actively trying to hurt Timmy, but his supreme incompetence and childlike selfishness often puts his son in danger and leaves him emotionally neglected. His dad is so obsessed with his own petty grievances, looking at you, Dinkelberg, that he's completely blind to his son's misery and literally superpower beings living in his fishbowl. What makes Mr. Turner a terrible dad? His most unforgivable acts include his extreme obliviousness. He fails to notice that his son is being tortured by his evil babysitter, Vicky, and often actively helps Vicky punish Timmy for things that he didn't even do. And on another occasion, he literally sent Timmy to jail and forgot about him just so he could be the star of a school play. Putting his son in danger for petty reasons, he once sold Timmy to a rich couple for a measly $100,000. On another occasion, he completely failed to recognize the danger of a sentient, murderous rocket ship in his backyard. You might think a selfish, oblivious buffoon is the worst kind of dad, but wait until you see number 4, who takes the buffoonery to an entirely new and more physically dangerous level. Sliding into our number 4 spot, proving that a lack of intelligence is no excuse for a lack of compassion, we have the buffoonish, neglectful, and often violent patriarch, Peter Griffin from Family Guy. While often played for laugh, Peter's parenting is generally horrific, blending incompetence with a mean streak that'll make your skin crawl. Peter's parenting is defined by his unpredictable, childish, and often cruel behavior. He's a man-child with a family, and his selfish whims consistently take precedence over his child's safety. While he has fleeting moments of love, they are almost overshadowed by his truly terrible actions. What makes Peter a terrible dad? His most notorious acts include physically and emotional abuse of his children. He consistently hurts his children, particularly Meg, with physical violence, emotional torment, and public humiliation. He has been shown repeatedly choking Chris and Meg, and one of the show's most popular running gags in a complete disregard for Meg's existence, putting the family in mortal dangers for a laugh. In one episode, he accidentally killed his son Peter Griffin Jr. by shaking him too hard. In another, he nearly drowned Lois after he and Stewie played a series of pranks on him. He has abandoned his kids, sold their belongings, and repeatedly left them to fend for themselves while pursuing his own ridiculous schemes, all with the complete lack of concern for their safety or well-being. If you think a dad who is that incompetent and abusive is worse, just wait until you see number 3, who uses his power and authority to turn his children into pawns in his grand evil schemes. At number 3, proving the greatest evil can sometimes wear a smoking jacket, we have the ultimate tyrannical adult and the primary antagonist of childhood, Father from Cartoon Network, codenamed Kid Next Door. He's not just a bad dad, he's a living embodiment of every kid's worst nightmare about growing up. Father is the ruthless leader of the adult villains, and the patriarch of the delightful children from down the lane. Forgot to mention he's number 1's uncle too. His entire existence is dedicated to suppressing childhood freedom and enforcing strict adult rules. His parenthood is horrifying, calculated performance of oppression. What makes Father a terrible dad? His most terrifying acts include brainwashing and emotionally enslaving his kids. He took the once happy Sector Z of the kids next door, a group of 5, and turned them into a perfect, obedient, emotionless minions, the delightful kids from down the lane. He uses them as tools to enforce his tyranny, completely erasing their memories and personalities. He's consistently plotting to harm all children. His schemes aren't just limited to his own kids. He is the master villain behind countless plots to enslave, decommission, and destroy any kid who dares to have fun or fight for their freedom. He is a literal monster who uses his immense pyrokinetic powers to terrorize and burn down the treehouse of children, all in the name of ensuring no kid experiences joy. This guy is a literal supervillain. But what happens when the villainy isn't about world domination, but about a slow, soul-crushing kind of emotional abuse that lasts a lifetime? Our number 2 has all the answers, and the answers are not good. For our penultimate entry, we have a man who proves that the bond between father and son can be a brutal life or death battle. Yujiro Hanma from Netflix anime Baki the Grappler. Yujiro, known as the ogre or the strongest creature on earth, isn't just a bad dad. He's a force of nature, whose very existence is a threat to his own son. Yujiro's brand of fatherhood is purely about dominance and power. He has no love, no compassion, and no interest in Baki's well-being. He sees his son not as a child to be nurtured, but as a rival to be tested, broken, and ultimately defeated. His goal is to make Baki strong enough to be a worthy opponent. He will use any means necessary to achieve that, no matter how barbaric. What makes Yujiro a bad dad? His most unforgivable acts include brutal physical and psychological abuse. From the moment Baki was a child, Yujiro's training included near lethal beatings. He was a constant, terrifying presence in Baki's life, forcing his son to endure unimaginable pain and trauma to get stronger. Yujiro's parenting is a constant test of Baki's resolve, but is a test that comes to the cost of his son's mental health and emotional well-being, teaching Baki that the only way to gain his respect is through violence. In what is arguably the most shocking and cruel act in parenthood in the anime history, Yujiro murders Baki's mother right in front of him, taunting Baki and telling him to get stronger to avenge her. This act of cold-blooded cruelty is not only a heinous crime, but also a calculated move to fuel Baki's hatred and make him a better fighter. You might think a dad whose love is so toxic that he literally killed his son's mother is the most evil, but what happens when the villainy is so personal, so intimate, and so horrific that it permanently scars a child in a way that defies all understanding? Get ready, because number one is a monster unlike any other. And finally, for the number one spot, we have the single most vile and universally despised father in cartoon history, a man whose name has become a byword for parental evil. We're talking about Shao Tucker from Full Metal Alchemist. Shao Tucker was a state alchemist, known as the Sowing Life Alchemist. On the surface, he was a kind, if a bit stressed, father to his young daughter Nina, and their big goofy dog Alexander. But underneath the facade was a desperate, selfish man who would do anything to keep his status and funding, no matter the cost. What makes Shao Tucker the worst dad ever? His single most unforgivable act, the human chimera transmutation. In a moment of pure unforgivable horror, Shao Tucker combines his daughter Nina and the family dog Alexander into a single monstrous talking chimera. This wasn't an accident. This was a calculated, deliberate act of bioterror against his own child. The utter lack of remorse when confronted by the protagonists Edward and Alphonse with the monstrous truth, Tucker showed no shame. Instead, he presented his creation with a perverse sense of pride, as if he just created a beautiful work of art, not a tortured being begging for death. The fact that he'd done the same thing to his wife years earlier, hiding the truth to save his own reputation, only adds to the monstrous legacy. A unique kind of evil he is. Unlike the other dads on the list, Shao Tucker's cruelty isn't about power or ambition in a conventional sense. It's a fundamental betrayal of trust on a biological and spiritual level. He didn't just harm his daughter, he erased her humanity and condemned her to a fate worse than death, all for the sake of his career. The act is so vile, so deprived, it's often cited as a moment where viewers realize Full Metal Alchemist wasn't just a kid's show. It's a scene so powerful and so disturbing that it permanently scarred an entire generation of anime fans, solidifying Shao Tucker's place as the most profound, evil father in cartoon history. There's no coming back from that one. There's no redemption, just a final haunted cry in the rain. So there you have it, 5 fathers who prove the worst thing in life don't always come from the monsters under the bed, but sometimes from the men who are supposed to be your biggest heroes. What do you think? Did we miss any monster dads? Let me know in the comments below. If you're gluttonous for punishment and appreciate this kind of deep dives into the world of animation, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more breakdowns, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss my next video. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later.